Let's go over a few things that you should know before you get your beak wet at the table. First things first, and you'd think people would know this, protect your hand. So if it's time for you to look at your hole cards, don't do one of these. Everyone on your left and your right are going to be able to see what you had. Instead, try to protect both cards by keeping them on the felt and covering them and just peeking at the corners. The corners will tell you what card you got and what suit they are, and that's all you need to know. If you need to, look back at them as many times as you want, and when you're not looking at them, make sure they're out in front of you where all the other players can see them so they know you're involved in the hand. What I like to do is take one of my chips, put them right on top of there. That way they'll never get mixed up with any other cards that might be getting tossed around at the table. Next thing, once you know what your hand is, don't talk about it. You may end up folding your hand and the play will continue, and if you talk about what hand you had, other players at the table are going to be able to use that information unfairly against their opponents. A couple things just to start. Next thing is, don't splash the pot. What do I mean by that? Well, we're always going to have chips out in the middle of the table here making up our pot. When it's time for you to bet, the last thing that you want to do is take your chips and throw them right in the middle. Do you have any idea how many chips I just bet? No, and neither does anyone else at the table, which means you may have put in too much or you may have put in too little. One way or the other, it's still a habit you don't want to get into. Instead, take your chips and make sure they're right out in front of you. So if I wanted to bet, I would just put my chips right out in front of me, and right here we could see I bet 9 chips. The other thing you don't want to do is string raise. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say I was faced with a bet of 10 chips, and I wanted to raise that bet of 10 chips. In the old cowboy movies, what do we used to see? I'll see your 10 chips and raise you 20 chips. The problem with this is, once you've put those 10 chips in there, unless I know that you're going to raise, if I'm acting after you, I may think all you've done is call here. So I may go about acting on my hand, even though you're not done acting on yours. So that's going to be an issue. The easiest way to avoid doing this is either putting out the full amount of your bet all at once, like so, or announcing that you want to raise, making a verbal declaration and saying, hey, I'd like to raise. Then you can put the 10 out there and you can reach back to your stack and put out the rest of the amount you'd like to raise. On a little side note, if you're playing no limit, the amount of the raise must be equal to or greater than the original bet. In limit poker, you don't have to worry about that because it's all structured for you.